Hi guys, movie recapped Queen here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today I'm going to recapping Billy the Kid, Season 1. In El Paso in 1877, a young man saunters into a bar and scans the room. He approaches Joe Grant, who admits he's looking for someone. The young man asks to examine Grant's gun and unloads 2 of the bullets. Grant says he's searching for Billy the Kid, then determines that's who he's looking at. Grant is dead before he reaches a loaded chamber of his gun. Billy flashes back to 6 years earlier in New York City, when he was 12-year-old Billy McCarty. His parents, Patrick and Kathleen, decide to move west seeking opportunity, although his father has doubts. They have trouble finding affordable transportation. Billy meets Moss, an old, one-eyed man who will take them there for cheap. A wagon capsizes crossing a river and most possessions were lost. Patrick almost drowns trying to save the family's chest. Family friend Frank O'Connor is killed in a skirmish with horse thieves. Moss trains Billy how to shoot. They arrive at Coffeyville, which is barely a clearing in the road. Billy sees a tree get set on fire by a lightning strike during a thunderstorm. Kathleen arranges for her and the boys to do housekeeping in return for a room at a boarding house. Patrick has been weak since his near-death experience. The local doctor diagnoses him as mentally ill. Mary O'Connor goes back to New York. A banker cruelly turns down Kathleen's request for a loan. Billy takes his pen. A priest comes to give Patrick last rites. Billy says goodbye to Patrick.
Bye, Pa.
After Patrick's funeral, Billy picks up a gun. In the present, Billy informs the bar's patrons that he didn't want to kill Grant, who insisted on trying to collect the bounty on Billy. He even left money with the bartender to pay for Grant's funeral. Kathleen is moving Billy and Joe to Santa Fe. Their driver, Mr. Hurley, tries to attack her after stopping for the night. Billy pulls Hurley's gun on him. Billy hangs onto the gun until Hurley uneventfully delivers them to Santa Fe. Kathleen takes a job for a very low wage at a local hotel. While being harassed by local layabouts, Kathleen is offered a ride by Henry Antrim. Billy is learning Spanish from his new friend Carlos. Hattie, a local prostitute, makes Kathleen's acquaintance. Billy witnesses the lynching of 3 Mexican thieves led by Antrim. Kathleen introduces her sons to Antrim. Billy is surly toward him. Antrim tries to justify his actions to Billy. Then Kathleen attempts to explain the basis of her relationship with Antrim to Billy. Antrim proposes and Kathleen accepts. 5 years later, a gambler guns down Carlos in a card game in front of Billy but isn't charged. Afterward, Kathleen has Billy talk to journalist Ash Upson. Ash tells Billy the shooter is connected to the Santa Fe Ring, a corrupt network of the rich and powerful. He adds that it could take years to clean up that group and get justice for Carlos. Billy practices his quick draw in front of a mirror. Hattie tells Kathleen that Antrim, one of her regular customers, beat her up. Seeing Kathleen crying, Billy goes to the local whorehouse in search of Antrim. He gives Antrim a beatdown. Antrim informs Kathleen that his big deal fell through and the bank is calling his loans. Still, Kathleen refuses to leave her husband. Upson is leaving town because of death threats, taking his investigation to Silver City. Billy's family is moving to Silver City. En route, Antrim threatens Billy. Then Billy blows the head off a snake and stares down Antrim. Antrim is injured and his partner Norm is killed in a silver mining explosion. Afterward, Antrim exclaims that he's done with mining. Jesse, who beat Billy at poker, invites him to do some practice shooting. Ash Upson checks in on Billy, who is having trouble finding work in Silver City. Ash offers to introduce Billy to rancher Billy Matthews. Jesse invites Billy to try his side hustle, cattle rustling. Jesse gives Billy his old rifle and Billy blasts a fence post with it. Kathleen tells Billy she's stashing savings about which she doesn't want Antrim to know. Joe is sick with a bad cough. Billy reads to Joe until Joe falls asleep. Matthews won't hire Billy because he's in with the Santa Fe Ring and he knows Ash is investigating them. The doctor diagnoses Billy as having consumption. To help pay for Joe's doctor bills, Billy takes Jesse up on his offer to rustle cattle from Matthews. The consumption claims Joe. Antrim shows up late to Joe's funeral and claims he's changed. Billy catches Antrim stealing the money that Kathleen has stashed. Billy drives him out into the rain at gunpoint and out of their lives. Despite all that's happened to them, Kathleen remains optimistic. Kathleen also catches consumption. It claims her as well, leaving Billy alone. Jesse recruits Billy for a burglary of a Chinese laundry. The armed owner catches them, but a shot Jesse runs off, leaving Billy to take the fall. He's sentenced to 3 years in jail for attempt burglary, largely because of his connection to Ash. Billy fakes hanging himself, then grabs the sheriff's gun, locks him in the cell, and strides off, escaping into the night. A man named Alias gets the drop on fugitive Billy. Alias adopted that name after being arrested multiple times. Billy realizes that Alias is a little crazy. Alias invites Billy to go to Texas with him. Billy renames himself William H. Bonney. A potential employer, Mr. Hooker, demands that Billy sing him an Irish song. Afterward, Hooker hires them as cowboys. Alice, a red-headed barmaid, develops an interest in him and takes him to bed. Alias plans to steal horses from Fort Grant that Hooker was going to rustle anyway. Billy goes to get the horse he stole reshoed, and the local blacksmith is suspicious of him, especially after seeing the brand on the horse. Alias tells Billy that he shot Hooker, who found out about the horse theft, and now he's leaving. The blacksmith calls Billy a horse thief in front of the whole bar. They struggle and Billy accidentally kills him. So Billy has to flee on his new horse. But then, after talking with his dead father, he returns to town to face the consequences. Billy pleads self-defense. Ash comes to visit the jailed Billy. Billy sends a message to Alice with him. Billy uses a bobby pin to pick the lock and escape. Indians surprise Billy and take his horse. So he proceeds on foot. He grows delirious, shooting at tumbleweeds, then collapses in the desert. He wakes up in New Mexico in the home of Barbara Jones. She's part of the Seven River Gang. She informs him there are wanted posters for him all over the state. Billy and Barbara discover they have a lot in common. They fall for each other. The rest of the gang returns, including Billy's old partner in crime, Jesse Evans. Barbara is Jess's girl. Billy discovers that Barbara, his latest fling, is the girl of Jesse Evans, his former partner in crime. Members of Jess's gang are hesitant to have the infamous Kid Antrim riding with them, but Jesse overrules them. Jesse figures out there's a spark between Billy and Barbara. Jesse and Barbara debate her feelings toward Billy. Barbara says she won't belong to either Jesse or Billy. Billy asks Jesse for a horse so he can leave. Jesse beats Billy in a quick draw competition and says Billy has to get quicker on the draw. Then Billy rides out of Jesse and Barbara's life. In Chihuahua, Mexico, a young boy offers to clean Billy's boots but doesn't return them. When Billy chases after the boy, he's attacked by bandits. He's rescued by a Mexican named Segura. Segura explains that the Mexicans are angry because gringos are stealing their land. Billy wins 2 pesos off Segura with a demonstration of his shooting skills. Segura asks for Billy's help in taking down a crooked dealer. They clean up. Then 2 sisters from a rich family invite them to dinner the next night. The sisters suggest they stay for the night. They wake up to find out the sisters robbed them. Cleaned out, they contemplate robbing the local bank. But Billy can't bring himself to do it. They go back to Ortiz's card game. Billy's stake is his gun and his bullets. They win again and buy back Billy's gun and bullets. They part, Segura going to New Mexico and Billy heading to Texas. Ortiz's men follow Billy and attack him at night. Billy picks them off one by one in the firelight. Billy kills Ortiz last, the first man he has intentionally killed. Billy walks out of the rain into a Southwest Texas bar. The only other patron in the bar is Pat Garrett, who is riding with Jesse Evans and the Seven Rivers Gang. He recognizes Billy from his wanted poster. He convinces Billy to ride out to the gang's hideout and visit with Jesse. Jesse tells Billy that Barbara got a job as a schoolteacher. Billy accepts Jess's offer to ride with the gang as they rustle John Chisholm's cattle. Jesse sells the cattle the gang rustled at an army post. Jesse brings back a wagon full of women and liquor for his men. A drunk Billy brawls with Bob Ollinger, who has been harassing him, and beats him. Pat tells Billy that his wife Juanita and their baby died during childbirth. Pat cautions Billy about his growing notoriety. The gang falls into a trap when they go back for more of Chisholm's cattle, as a gunfight erupts in the middle of a stampede. A newspaper article about the shootout cites Billy by name. Jesse decides it's time for the gang to move on. Frank Baker drops by the gang's hideout with a proposition. Lawrence Murphy, a businessman in Lincoln County, wants to hire an army of gunmen to protect his interests against criminal elements. A Mexican boy comes by to tell Billy that Segura is in jail in Chihuahua convicted of Ortiz's murder. Billy plans to rescue Segura, then meet the gang in Lincoln County. Pat gives Billy the nickname Billy the Kid. Billy surprises the jail guard, who unsuccessfully tries to lead him into an ambush. Billy shoots a third guard multiple times on the way out. Billy and Segura leave the house of Segura's friend Jesus before the posse arrives, but Jesus is gunned down. After freeing Segura from prison on Chihuahua, Billy catches up with the Seven Rivers gang in Lincoln County, New Mexico. Frank Baker tells Billy that Major Murphy and his Lieutenant Dolan and Riley, all Irishmen like Billy, want to meet him. Murphy tells the gang they'll be working to protect his business interests against newcomers such as Englishman John Tunstall. Pat and Jesse attempt to intimidate Tunstall's associate, but Billy pulls them out. A Mexican farmer tells Jesse and Billy that he signed an agreement to sell his grain to Tunstall because Murphy cheats farmers. Murphy is deeply in debt. Tunstall has hired McSween, Murphy's former lawyer. Billy prevents a gunfight between the gang and some gunmen hired by Tunstall. Murphy's associate Riley tells Jesse they have to get more violent against the Mexican farmers. Murphy bribes Billy with a new gun to get him to give his party guests a shooting demonstration. They end up scared rather than delighted. Pat shoots Manuel, a reluctant farmer who defends himself against a violent Jesse. Tunstall's men start recruiting farmers to fight in the upcoming war. The sheriff's deputies come for Pat. The sheriff jails Pat to placate the Mexican community. Billy comes to Manuel's funeral to pay his respects despite a hostile crowd. George Coe tries to convince Billy to meet with Tunstall. Murphy suggests that the sheriff send Pat to a distant, higher court, then send a wagon load of whiskey to the gang. Billy agrees to a secret meeting with McSween. After rebuffing advances by Dolan's wife Irene, Billy is smitten by Dulcinea, a member of the local Mexican gentry. Billy meets with McSween. His impassioned speech convinces Billy it's time that he switch sides in the upcoming war. McSween explains to Billy how Murphy is protected by a series of rings, amassing land and political clout through corruption. He adds that the independently wealthy Tunstall is taking a different approach, to treat the common man fairly. Pat Garrett writes that he is training to become a lawman in order to stay out of jail. Billy and Jesse debate about working for Murphy. Dolan and Riley order Jesse and the gang to force Mexican farmers in default off their lands, so those can be resold. At Murphy's party, Billy tells Jesse he won't participate. Billy gently rebuffs a drunk Irene Riley, but she kisses him anyway, an act seen by her husband. The Rileys argue and she shoots, wounding him, then he shoots, killing her. Billy rides with Charlie to meet Tunstall. After a spirited gun battle, the gang overcomes a small group of farmers. During Billy's meeting with Tunstall, the gang's bloody rampage continues. Tunstall offers to intercede with the governor on Billy's behalf if he switches sides. McSween and Tunstall observe the aftermath of the carnage. Billy finds the gang celebrating. Sheriff Brady slowly investigates the killings, which Dolan pinned on a roving gang. Murphy informs a business associate that Tunstall is behind them, starting a smear campaign. Billy contemplates his situation under the stars. Billy introduces himself to Dulcinea, who knows who he is. Tunstall and McSween hold a council of war. Billy strolls in to offer his services. Billy rides into the gang's camp and informs them he's working for Tunstall now. Some draw on him, but Jesse convinces them to let Billy leave in peace. As Billy rides away, Jesse knows his best friend is right and that he's on the wrong side of this conflict. Thanks for watching.